All right, everybody. I'm very pleased to welcome Anabelle Ciancuillo to the Jeff Macolino podcast.
Oh,
Did I get it right?
you got it right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm you're on the West Coast. I should explain myself. I'm in Florida, so it's 2 o'clock here, and this is only my second drink.
Hey,
So,
my grandmother always says it's 5 o'clock somewhere.
mm-hmm. Your grandmother is a genius because so when I worked in a corporate job, I had a little thing that was on the cubicle wall. And it was 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4. And it was a different random city in the time zone where it was 5 o'clock.
Oh, that's
So,
brilliant.
so, so my punchline was always like spot on, like, well, it's 5 o'clock in Budapest.
There you go.
Yeah. So I,
Nailed
I
it.
I took it to the next level of having like a cheat sheet of where it was 5 o'clock at every hour of the day. Um, I may have a problem. I don't know.
Or just really knowledgeable.
Yeah, it was, it adds that extra layer of authenticity to the it's 5 o'clock. So it's 5 o'clock in I don't know. Another city that I
I think it's like when people know like the military alphabet like by heart, and you're just like, oh, like you, wow, you really know that.
Yeah.
Like I just know A is for apple. Great.
Yeah, well that comes up actually it's very interesting that comes up on film sets with the slate
All the
where
time now.
yeah, well some people still so I just filmed a movie and it was a indie here in Florida over the month of June, and we had 12 people doing the slate. Like the actors would do it sometimes. We had a couple of interns who would do it. I would do it. The producer of the movie would do it. So it was random. But some people, one of the interns was Ukrainian and had a strong accent. So when she said, like she said, scene 50B, and I'm like, did she say 15 or 50? And did she say B, C, D, E? What? I don't know what. So I actually appreciated when Sierra is her name, our associate producer, did the slate because she was, 50, bravo. And I'm like, that's helpful when you're sorting the files out and trying to figure out what goes where. It's very helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've tried to learn it because whenever I've said my last name, like spelling it out over the phone, there's so many letters in it, and it's so long that like it does come in handy. And every now and then I'm like, is it Charlie? Yeah, C is for Charlie. Like I have to like remind myself. I had a friend try to like coach me and like tell me how he works in finance, and so they had to learn it all because they're always doing names and numbers stuff. And he was like drilling me at one point in college to like have me memorize it. And I think I had it down at one point, but it's when you don't use it enough, it just is fleeting.
Yeah, yeah. It's not like riding a bike.
Right.
it's not easy to jump back
I
on.
had to learn the alphabet one way, and that took years. And I managed to do it
Yeah.
then. So,
And I still remember most of that alphabet, so give me some credit.
yeah.
It's just Q. Who
Yeah.
remembers Q?
Yeah. What is Q for? Queen.
Is it Queen?
It's Queen. Q is for
I
Queen.
think you're right. I think you're right. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a few weird ones in there where it's like, why is that?
Yeah.
Anyways,
X for xylophone or no. Yeah.
I think so.
It's
I
like,
think it is. Yeah, yeah. I used to have this down, but I know Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie.
yeah.
Those are the main three. You
Yeah.
know,
There you go.
you get past that, who cares?
I know Zulu, and that's like, and a Zulu,
Zulu, yeah.
yeah, because you're like, oh, that's a fun one. That's good.
Yeah, yeah, and golf. I know golf. That's a good one. And
Yeah.
tango, foxtrot,
Tango, foxtrot. Those
whiskey.
are ones you hear on TV though. Like those, they specifically pick out the fun ones on TV because they're like, oh, everyone wants to say these ones.
That's the cheat code for network sitcoms to say what the fuck is whiskey, tango, foxtrot.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, that's on that's probably the most common three that people know, other than maybe Alpha. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. I think those would be the ones that I know.
Yeah. Well, that's good enough, right?
Yeah,
I we had one actress who was doing the thing. She did not know it, and she just said another word that started with whatever letter. And it's
great.
like, that kind of still works.
Kind
Like,
of still works. Kind of still works.
yeah, she said, I remember because it was ridiculous. She's like, it's scene 46, Beverly. And I'm like,
That,
Beverly? I mean, I know that's a B, so it's easy enough. It's just,
yeah, interesting.
yeah, yeah. I wonder who Beverly is in her life.
Who knows?
So, what's it like? It's fascinating to me that the experience of so everything I've done as an actor and producer and all that stuff has been in Florida.
Mm.
Um, you're out in LA, right? I
Yeah,
think I already asked you that.
out in LA.
So it's kind of a completely different game. It's like a different sport we're playing, I feel like, to an extent.
It's a bear in LA. Like I'm from Chicago originally, and it's so starkly different from that. And I think it's really because everyone in LA is doing it. Like in Florida, you're probably a small pocket of people. Same with Chicago. As big as the industry is in Chicago, it's still a small pocket. I mean, Chicago is known for being a financial town, right? Like every city has its pocket of like what it's known for. LA is known for being the town of entertainment. So everyone, whether they're a writer, director, cinematographer, actor, producer, is in the industry. And, we're all kind of going through the movement together. And so when I meet someone that and they're like, I'm a lawyer, I'm like, wow, what's that like? You're a lawyer. Oh,
In this town?
and then, yeah, it's like, wait, who are you? Like, what kind of law? And then they're like, entertainment law. And I'm like, oh, that makes sense. Okay, moving on.
Well,
Uh,
yeah, it must be exhausting to an extent because I do remember a casting director saying, like, when I wanted to go out and look for a certain, like, a vision of a character, I just go to any restaurant and coffee shop because I know everyone working there is an actor.
as an actor, yeah. And that was like my biggest thing. I think when I was like in college, I knew I wanted to come to LA, I was serving when I was in college, and I was like, I am not going to be a server and an actor in LA. Like, I refuse. I refuse to do it. And my like senior year of college, I like quit my serving jobs. I stopped serving and was lucky enough to like land a job out of college working at an acting studio. And I was like, okay, great. I can like work in an acting studio and be an actor. And that feels better to me because I'm not like everyone else. And now sometimes I wish I still was a server and an actor because the schedule flexibility was really nice.
It's and you've produced some things too, haven't you?
Yeah, I produced a like photo series that I kind of turned into like everyone thinking like we made a small reel out of it, but it turned into something that everyone thought was like a part of a film, which was kind of my idea for it. I was like, I want to do this like Halloween horror shoot. I want it to like look really cinematic. I like built a storyboard. I was like, here's, kind of the trajectory of like the progressions of the shots, kind of the story of what it is. Um, like, let's do it. And initially, my friend who shot it will tell you like a year or two before that, I was like, I'm never going to produce anything. I can't write, not going to produce. I'm just going to be an actor. And then I produced this, and he was like, this was awesome. This was great. He was like, do you remember when you said that? And I was like, yeah, I'm still never going to write anything. And he was like, well, you never know. Maybe you can do something along this line and then kind of take it into putting it in movement. And actually, now I've been kind of looking at stuff and starting to come up with ideas of like, shorter projects of film that I want to create, which has been kind of fun, but also really scary. Because you're like, am I doing this right? I don't know. I feel like everyone is kind of winging it to some degree, no
Yeah.
matter how many classes or, school or teachings you have in the industry. It all is just like, I think this is a good idea. Hopefully, someone else thinks this is a good idea.
I knew where when you said I'm not a writer, I'm like, oh, she's working on writing something. I knew where that was going because it's but to your larger point, I think the thing I always tell myself is like everyone is swung and missed. Like there's not a director who doesn't have a shitty movie out there, no matter who you are.
Yeah.
Maybe Tarantino, but he's a weirdo. Uh, but you know, even acting, like yeah, there's Tom Hanks has had roles where it's like, could have done better.
Yeah. Well, and also there's so much of that that goes into like you can have a really good actor in a really bad film, and sometimes it's not the actor's fault. Like sometimes it's the
Yep.
way it's edited, sometimes it's the way it's shot and the music, and you're just like, wow, this actor sucked in it. And it kind of is unfortunate that sometimes those things paint a picture for someone because I feel like the actor can, really like have a downfall after kind of a flop of a film when realistically, it's not necessarily their fault. It was just the way it was cut and the way that like it was framed and shot and edited might have just not done like the story and that actor justice for what it was. And
Right.
I and that's really where like the team building of like, where it's like Tim Burton has his like set of people that he uses because he's like, this is what works and I'm gonna stick to it. And it makes sense because you're like, yeah, you know what you're doing and you know who's going to like put out the things that you want to put out and make it look good and have it all work. And so I think that's why people like stick to these like formulas of doing things because, when one thing goes wrong, it like just completely can spiral for that person. It's a hard industry and it's because everyone is doing it, especially in LA.
Yeah. No, I went down a rabbit hole because I directed. Well, I wrote and directed a film that we filmed here in June.
Mhm.
And I went down like a YouTube rabbit hole of like directors I admire, and like it's like what makes the Coen brothers great. And one of the things on there was like they have the same director of photography every time, and they don't have to talk to him. They just know he's going to make everything look beautiful. And it's
Yeah.
like, huh, and so that's kind of actually I had this conversation yesterday with the director of the first movie I was the EP on, and I was the lead actor in that movie. Um, I was up at his house getting a copy of the movie yesterday, and I'm like, man, I feel like between these two movies and the other things I've done, like I could build a super team down here in Florida. We just don't have money. Like it's like
Right.
we got all the talent between actors, the crew, all these people. I've got a great team. And it's like, oh, the other thing is like, oh, this is why Adam Sandler has the same actors in all his movies. Like, it's the movie I shot in June. It's a time loop movie, like Groundhog Day,
Oh, okay, yeah.
and it's Thanksgiving. So it all takes place for the most part
Boy.
inside of a house where this woman has to deal with her husband's family coming and just being
Yeah.
obnoxious and
Sounds
terrible.
like a nightmare.
Yeah, yeah. Italian family, by the way.
Oh, okay, so maybe fun.
Yeah, well, so yeah, so if you that was part of the challenge with casting is it's like every character except for two has to be Italian or
Yeah,
look Italian
right,
because I mean we are playing a family.
right.
Um, See if you live locally. I mean, with the I want to make this clear. Our Nicole was fantastic, so I'm not saying I would have replaced her, but you could have been someone for my little sister.
Oh,
Uh,
thank you. Would have been so much fun.
Yeah, actually, I regret. Madeline, the actress who played my little sister, was so good that, and I wrote the script, and while we were on set, the two of us never interact in the entire script.
Oh,
But when we
wow.
were on screen together, she and I would say were the two best at improving, mainly because
Oh,
I didn't know my lines. The writer of and director of the movie didn't know his own lines. I knew other people's lines. So we'd shoot a scene together and there's no dialogue between us and there'd be like six zingers back and forth and it would be different every take and that makes
that's
editing very difficult.
amazing. Yeah, it makes editing a little challenging. So hopefully your editor really likes you, but That's always fun though when you have the opportunity to do that and the editor's like, "Go for it. Have at it. I
Yeah,
got
well,
it."
he was the director of photography, the guy who's editing it.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, he knew what he was getting into. Uh, but yeah, that's one of my big regrets. I'm like, why didn't I write a scene where we do more? Because we were really good and we had no lines like talking to each other the entire script. It's an oversight on the writer's part. What idiot wrote that script? Uh, um, but yeah, no, the thing. So I am helping the editor edit the movie, and this kind of is leading to a question or an opinion from you.
What?
Um, there are two things that I find horrifying about watching myself, and again, I'm trying to watch it as the director, right?
Hmm.
Like, but I'm a character in the movie too.
Hmm.
So it's like there's there is it's hard to watch yourself because you are yourself.
Hmm.
Like I don't believe that I'm someone else because I know I'm me. That's me on the
Yeah.
screen. Um, the other thing you won't relate to, the other thing is like I've lost 35 pounds since shooting that movie. So I'm like, who is that fat fucker who looks like me? You probably don't relate to that aspect, but the first part, it's really hard to watch. Like I watched um Haunted Happy Hour is a movie that I was in just and I watched that movie and I'm like, "Oh, I was horrific in this movie." And most people are like, "Oh, you were great." And I'm like, "I don't know. I don't buy that was Brian because but maybe it's because I know it's me."
Yeah, but that's the, like we are our like worst critic, right? And we know our like tells, we know our ticks, we know our like when we're even like trying to like put a little more finesse on something when like really we just need to leave it alone. I think when I was really young, I took my first on-camera class when I was in high school, actually. And I remember like seeing myself on screen for the first time, and I was like, "That's God, that's what I look like. Like that's what I sound like." It takes a while, you have to like build up kind of like learning what you sound like, what you look like, and what your face is doing. I feel like because when we talk to people, we don't see what our facial expressions are. But then when you watch yourself, you're like, oh, that's what my mouth was doing? Does my mouth do that all the time? Do I always like furrow my brows that way? Am I always like, and all of a sudden you're hyper focused on every little detail. And so it's definitely something that like what we do is not normal because we become such like maniacs in like honing in this, right? And every kind of muscle movement and how little things affect us and the way that like it shows up on our face so that it can play into what we're doing. But yeah, it's still weird because I see things sometimes and I'm like, oh, that was the choice that they went with. I think the other like I think there was a take that I thought was better, but okay, whatever. It's not, and sometimes that happens and you're just like, oh, all right, like someone else saw something that maybe I didn't. And sometimes you just have to trust that. And that's a really hard thing because we all want to see ourselves in the best light. And like that's why Johnny Depp is someone who doesn't watch himself. Like I think it was like Edward Scissorhands. He like watched himself and he absolutely hated it. And like from that moment, he was like, I'm never gonna watch myself again. Doesn't watch his films.
Yeah, it's a weird like I totally get it like with that. And to me, I guess part of it's also like I'm still in early stages. So it's like if I don't self-scout, like one thing I noticed, and I hate to call this out on my podcast because now everyone's gonna see it in anything I do. It's like, why do I blink so much? Sometimes I
Big
blink too
one.
much.
That's a
Uh,
big one
yeah.
for on camera. Michael Caine has a acting his like you can watch it on YouTube. It's the like Michael Caine like School of Acting, I think it is, and his like book. And he talks about that. And he talks about like what happens when you blink on screen versus when you like actually focus in on onto your subject, onto your like person and relationship, and just how much more intense it is, and like you get your point across. And so that's something that like has been talked about in every single one of my on-camera classes, to the point where anytime I ever blink now, people are like, "Did you see shoot? Like finally blink?" Because usually I get called like wide-eyed or like death stare because I'm like, "Don't blink, don't blink, don't blink, don't blink."
Yeah,
Because
it God, it's so weird. And I always, so when I was 21 or something like that, I took an acting class for like 8 weeks, once a week. Well, not really that intensive, but one of the things, the homework was to go home in the mirror and do like 20 expressions in the mirror. And that's when so I do credit that. Like I always say, I didn't take acting classes. It's not that hard, but I did technically take acting classes. But um, so the editor of this Thanksgiving again that I was talking about, he said to me the other day, not in a weird way, he's like, "Dude, your face is so good. Like I just want to always have it on camera." Not saying I was good. He was saying like I'm always so reactive to things. I can control my eyebrows independently. Um, that kind of stuff. And I'm like, yeah, because I fucking built the muscles in my face to do that when I was younger. Like that was the assignment. And I'm like, I'm jealous of The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, for the eyebrow thing. Just practice it. You could do it. I mean, it takes a while and it hurts your face sometimes, but it's just muscles.
yeah,
Um, but but the one thing that I'm like, oh, when I'm trying to look like I'm contemplating something serious, I tend to do too much blinking. And it's like I don't know. I don't think, again, it's like that's why I hate calling it out, because I'm like, no one would notice this unless I'm
yeah,
like, look, I blinked like 12 times in 15 seconds. No
yeah.
one's noticing those things except for me,
Good for you.
and I'm hating myself.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
It,
It's it's a weird thing because we hyperanalyze everything, right? Like I know that there are times where like I feel like I'm overly expressive, and then I'm like, oh, like was that too much? Was that like why was I like, am I doing too much? And everyone's like, no, that was great. But you think about actors that, then do that. And you're like, oh, yeah, like there's Emma Stone who like has like she's very expressive in her facial expressions and things like that. And it's great. And you're like, oh my God, this is so compelling. And so I think the thing that is helpful is being as authentic as you think and believe that you can be in that moment. And as long as you are authentic and specific, whatever you do is going to look great.
yeah, I agree. It's being authentic to the character, and that actually brings up an interesting. I talked about this with, and I'm only bringing this up because that podcast episode will be out before this one. But the lead actress for the movie I directed, Samantha Savasco, she was here, and or no, I went over to her place to help her. I was her reader for an audition, and she made the comment like, "I hate playing these real people. Like I want characters." And I'm like, "Oh, that's interesting." Because now I say this knowing that if someone was familiar with the movies I've been in, I've played characters at least half the time. But I'm like, I really like just playing like myself, but like, myself in a different universe. Like
Right.
that's kind of how I play. And then I could just really easily just be this guy. And that's why, I'm just being myself. The director of the movie I was the lead in, The Last Ride, uh, he sent me a text while he was editing it, and he's like, you really like. come off like a real person. Like, if they do more movies where they cast real people in roles, I think you've got a great chance. And I'm like, isn't that what actors are supposed to be? But not, and they're not half the time, like more than half the time. They
I'm
are characters.
this whole time they've been casting fake people? What?
Like, but it's funny. It's like until those two conversations, I've never been like, oh, there are two choices to make as an actor to be like super real, like
Yeah.
this, I am this person, or to be super like I'm gonna character actor this shit, like Kramer on Seinfeld.
Yeah.
He's a cartoon character.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but it's interesting. Do you have a preference between those two?
So it's interesting. I think that's actually something I've been kind of like working on right now.
Hmm.
And I've been diving into doing more character work, because I want to kind of feel what that feels like and take away from, okay, this is how Annabelle would do things if this was me, and this, and really trying to build, how would this character walk? How would this character talk? Like what is the music that this character is? But I think the reality of it is that like you're bringing yourself into every role. So there are parts of you that you're going to be, even when you're thinking about how is this character going to do it, you're thinking about how is Annabelle thinking about how this character is going to do it. So you're still bringing yourself into that role. So what I've actually discovered is recently I actually have a harder time doing the regular roles because they're so close to home and so easy almost to tap into that you almost have to work a little bit harder to make sure that you're still being authentic to the world of that movie, that play, or whatever it is. Because you don't just want to show up as yourself. You want to show up as yourself in these circumstances under this character, under this, person that you are now playing. So I've enjoyed both. I really have been, some of them are definitely more like, oh, characters, this character role is definitely like a trope or like an archetype type of thing. And I can like tap into that. And I know where this lives and it kind of can be a little more easy. Whereas, you can get a, a college dropout who like got into drugs and you're like, oh, that, like, I know someone like that. Like, that's like real life stuff. But that also is really hard because I never necessarily went through that. So in a way, it still is character work. I feel like this, there's just the difference between it being a like a caricature like Kramer and being like tropey and cartoony to then it being just something that's more tangible and something that's more lived in real life. Um, but the effort of the way that you kind of dive into it, for me at least, still is the same. And I think for a while, I didn't think that. I think for a while, there was a part of me that was like, oh, this is easy. I know someone like this. I'm just going to act as Jennifer on 8th Street. And that's that attitude and whatever it is. And play this, play it as how she would play it, because that's who this character is. Whereas, like, really, I think I now dive into it a little more. And now I assess, like, okay, like, what would it be? Like, how would I really feel in this situation? How would I like carry myself? What are the emotional like things that are affecting this character, even if it's so close to home, if it's just a regular, normal coffee shop barista, who's just having a rough day at work. It's like, what else is going on in their life that like this day is particularly bad? And so they both have their like easy tap into, but also, struggles of how you make it unique and fun as an actor. And I think for me, I really want to live in that space where I like am going to those deeper ends. Because otherwise, when you play the normal character, the normal everyday, you know, Jane Doe, Joe Schmo, you're like, okay, I've done it. I want to do character work. I think that's why people then kind of go to the other thing because they're like, oh, I'm tired of doing this. And I totally understand that because I think I had that feeling at one point. And now I think I'm like, well, what is that? Why do I feel that way? Why am I getting so easily like, oh, I'm bored? Because I really shouldn't be bored because in my life I'm not necessarily bored and I show up as a maybe I am a caricature, I don't know, but I feel like I show up as a person. So like, what is that? What are the things that are like that I've got going on in the back of my mind that, help me go through my day to not be this, boring, monotonous creature.
Yeah, yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. It's
I can go
crazy.
on a yeah, I can go on a tangent, but
No, and I made the joke earlier, like the movie I directed, my character, the name is Jeffrey. So
it's you.
it's me, but he is a cartoon character.
Okay.
So I'm like, while you're talking, I was also thinking like, am I a cartoon? And you even wrote, am I a cartoon character in real life? I might be.
I, there are times where I definitely am. Like I my friends say it all the time, like, oh, like, don't ever tell Annabelle something that you don't expect her to wear on her face, because I mean, there was a picture that was taken. I went to Burning Man for the first time, and one of our friends posted a picture, and it was all of us on the RV, and there's a photo of me, like, and it's me pointing at the sunset, trying to tell everyone, like, look at this amazing sunset. And it is hysterical. But I was like, yeah, you know what? That is me to a T. That is me telling my friends, look at this sunset. I know I'm being ridiculous, but have you looked at this sunset? And I think we all have those moments where, yeah, we can show up and be, kind of this mellow, everyday kind of person, but also maybe you are a bit of a caricature in your own way, right?
Yeah,
Huh.
turn the volume up sometimes. All
Yeah.
right. I think I think there's some truth to that. And people who aren't sometimes a character are kind of boring if you think
Yeah.
about it.
I think those are the people that we refer to as having nothing going on.
Yeah.
You meet someone and you're just like, yeah, I tried, but like I was not getting anything. And they thrive in other places for sure.
Yeah.
Those people have their spots. But, to people like myself that are just animated and energetic and you try to like get to know someone and they're just giving you nothing, you're like, all right, well, have a good night.
Yeah, that's the weird that's the I would say like that's the first date thing where you're like, so what do you do for a living? I do systems analysis. What is that? Oh, it's boring. Okay,
Cool.
so what do you want to do? Oh, I'll probably just do that. Okay. And then, she
And you're
asked
like,
him,
and why are we having this conversation? Like,
yeah, yeah. Well,
please let
then
me pull your teeth some more.
there was a real life date where this is basically the conversation, and the girls asked me questions, and I asked me about podcasts and acting and movies and everything, and then she's asking me questions. I'm just answering them, and then she's like, you're kind of a narcissist. We've only been talking about you. I'm like, right, because I actually answered your fucking questions, and you're just like, oh, I do a boring job, and that's what I'm gonna do the rest of my life.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah. It's
I'm
hard.
jealous of those people a little bit.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, right? And it makes you wonder sometimes because you're like, wait, is it me? Like, do they only, is it something wrong with me? Do I come off too like fun and energetic, or am I like, or are they like this with everyone? Like do they get along with other people, or are they just like, how do they go about in life? Truly, like I genuinely have the curiosity. I met someone recently. I went to my friend's going away party. She was moving out of LA and I didn't know anyone there. So I'm like, all right, well, feeling a little awkward. I'm gonna go introduce myself to some people. And I go up to someone and I was like, oh yeah, like, how do you know Jessica? He responds and goes, in this life, And I was like,
What?
me too. Same. Wow. And it's amazing because sometimes you're just like, did that really come out of your mouth for you to think that that was going to be a fruitful conversation? Or are you really that disinterested in talking to me? But
That's a good question. Maybe it was just a dismissive. Yeah. No,
maybe,
I'm in my head all the time about shit like this because it's like, is that really the answer? That's all you got? Like
yeah,
I go part of my routine, uh, blah blah blah. I talk about it all the time now on the podcast, but I've lost 35 pounds in the last couple months, and part of
yeah,
my routine is walking. And it's boring, but I walk by people, and it's always good morning. And some people don't even look at you and just keep walking, and I'm just like, asshole. And then other people are like, good morning. And I'm like, oh, they would stop and talk if I stopped walking right now. Which I don't want to do because I'm exercising. But I'm like, that's my kind of person. Like, engage. I want to engage with another human being who's, I don't know. Maybe we're weird, Annabelle.
I my friend so my freshman year of college, I actually went to Sarah Lawrence for a semester in New York. And there was a term that is known at the school called getting Sarah Lawrenced. And it is when you are walking down the street and you see someone that you know and you say, hey, and they look at you and dismiss you, like purposely dismiss you, or they like just don't even acknowledge you. And people would run like I like into the dorms and being like, oh my God, I just Sarah Lawrence someone. And I was like, that is mean. That is not a nice thing to do. You are not a good person for doing that. Why are you proud of this moment? Like, why?
That's I mean I've even said like literally if there was a camera on my face when someone we lock eyes and says good morning back, the next 20 steps I'm smiling.
Yeah, yeah. There's like actual science to that though, that like receiving a good morning, like early in the morning, like from someone, random people, actually like boosts your endorphins. And so there's real science to the reason why people say good morning.
Yeah, and I'm a very shy person when I'm not drunk, but still, good morning and a little smile and eye contact.
Just the validation that I exist, that I'm walking down the street. You don't know what I'm going through. I might feel invisible in my life. And if you just said good morning to me, might make my day.
You're right.
As an actor who receives 1,000 no's constantly, a good morning goes a long way.
Yeah. Oh, you know what's funny? The two movies I was the executive producer on in the past year, working with I don't know how much I'll get your take on it. Like I feel like the crew like hates actors so much. Not like oh they have to look good. They can't remember their words. One guy on the crew, I'm not going to say who, was like, "Man, shooting a movie would be so great if we didn't have actors." And I'm like, "So you'd be lighting and recording an empty room then?" Uh That would be scintillatingly exciting. That would be super exciting content to to just record a well-lit room.
I had an acting teacher really early on who said something that I think was really impactful to me as an actor about how to show up on set. Um, because I think that is something that production does feel sometimes because they probably see a lot of actors that walk onto a set, with this sort of entitlement and snobbery. And I had an acting teacher very early on tell me, you are at the bottom of the food chain until that movie is produced. Until you are called for places and you are needed, like you are at the bottom of the food chain. Like be respectful to everyone that is on set that is doing everything that they can to make you look good.
Hmm.
And when you are set and you are in place, show up and do your job because everyone's been working hours before you even showed up on set to make sure that when you step foot on that set, that you're prepared to do your job. And it was such a profound thing because when you watch a film, you don't see the, lighting crew, any of the people, they're in the credits, but they're not what's front facing. You're noticing the actors. So actors get all this, oh my God, praise and love and support. But without an entire crew, you wouldn't have the movie. I mean, without them all making you look good, you wouldn't have the movie. So the same way that a crew would be like, oh, this set would be great without actors, it was like, well, this set would be, it's like an actor would never say that. An actor would never be able to say, like, this set would be great without a lighting. No, this set would be atrocious without any of that. We
Yeah.
need, which
We'd
is
look
the,
like shit and sound like shit.
yeah, it would be awful. Like, and I think that's the difference is, you know, production has, they can feel validated sometimes in saying that because yeah, in a sense, they could have people that treat them better and show up and do their job and make their lives easier. Whereas actors would never say that because we should know that we are at the bottom of the food chain, literally up until we set foot and have to do our job. And I think that was like really great advice because it led me to then having more appreciation on a set and even doing, smaller sets in college and being willing to be like, hey, like, how can I help? Like, is there anything, and of course production's like, no, 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 you're good. Like you're good. Just you focus on you. And I'm like, okay, great. Like, I'm just gonna be here and not bother anyone because
Yeah.
they're doing so much. And I think it's helpful because I do think it's easy to have a sense of entitlement, especially if you're doing, tough pieces where you're coming in with a lot of emotion or you have to go into these character roles and you have to be really dark. Actors get into like weird places and they can be not nice on set because they're just in their character and they're just in these roles. And so they may come off like kind of harsh, which I think is why, you know, you hear about like big celebrities on set and people being like, yeah, like I worked on this set, but they weren't really nice to me. Like, they were just kind of cold and quiet. Well, yeah, because their job isn't to be your friend. Their job is to show up and do the work and then go. You want to have drinks with them later, like find them when it's wrapped and see if they'll like talk to you later. But don't bother them while they're like in character getting ready because they're doing their job and their
Yeah.
work. And that's what they need to do. Just like everyone else, like you're not going to stop a lighting person and be like, "Oh, can you tell makeup to?" They're like, "No, I'm doing lighting. Go find a PA." Like,
Right.
everyone's got their job. And so I think it does make sense that like certain people feel that way because you forget that there are some people that haven't been told how to act on a set. There are some people that become actors because they're good looking and they were just lucky and did it and great, but they don't have set etiquette. And that's a real thing of having set etiquette and knowing how to show up on set because you're working with people that have been up since 4, 5 a.m. and that are working, 18 hours or more, and everyone's exhausted.
Yeah. Yeah. And the amount of months and hours they've put in preparing beforehand too. But it was yeah, I did have one experience with the last ride where I needed to be like teary-eyed and you know, the my sets, my two sets of the two movies I paid for, uh very lighthearted, very fun atmosphere. Everyone's having fun. And I'm like, guys, you need to leave the room. Like if I need to get sad, teary-eyed, I can't be fucking listening to you tell dick jokes. Like just
Yeah,
give me 5 minutes and come back.
yeah,
Like because I don't want to stop you from having fun, but you
yeah,
can't do it in front of me because it's just not gonna. And I got made fun of for like, oh, you're an actor, you should be. I'm like, nah, fuck you.
like if you think it's so easy, you do
Yeah,
it.
snap your fingers and do it. It's like
Yeah.
I'm paying for this movie. Leave.
Yeah. Yeah. I had something like that happen in college. I remember I was on a student film and I had to be like running through tarp and like in hysterics crying. It was about a girl with like massive anxiety panic attacks. So like every other scene she was crying, but this one happened to be like a total breakdown. And like we were like under a bridge in like the middle of Chicago. And I'm like in the corner there setting up and I'm like in the corner like getting ready and I'm like sitting there and I'm kind of like doing my breath work, hyperventilating, like getting myself and every PA and their mom decided to come up to me being like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" To the point where I was like I had to go up to the director and I was like, "Look, I really appreciate everyone coming up to me, but it's really hard for me to like get in character and stay in character if I have everyone asking me if I'm okay. Like I'm just trying to like get into this zone so that I can do my job."
Yeah.
And it's, and of course, like that is college, right? Everyone's still learning about how you're supposed to be on set. When you get onto a real set, there are parameters and rules about who can talk to who and those types of things. But of course, it was one of those things where everyone's like, "Oh, person crying, like, are you okay?" And we're like, "Did we all forget we're on a movie set for a second?"
Yeah. Do you remember this is not real?
Yeah. It's moments like that where sometimes I want to be like, "I just broke a nail."
Yeah, it's tough being I'll tell you this, if you're ever in this situation, it's very tough being the trying to think of the way to say it without sounding pretentious, but it's not going to happen. So, it's tough being the face of the movie. Like,
Yeah.
so I was the lead actor and the executive producer in charge. Like, I'm the one who hired all these people. And, it's like my character in The Last Ride is very, like, he's suicidal. I mean, like, but when people show up, I have to be like, hey, nice to meet you. Great you're here, blah, blah, blah. Now I need to want to kill myself. So
Yeah.
it's,
It's
oof.
it's hard. I mean, and I think that's why like, so many actors like sometimes will feel like we get a little like of that like when people come up to you and they're like, "Oh, like you're an actor? Like I want to be an actor." And you're just like, "Great. Cool. Yeah, you go ahead, do that." Because I don't think people realize the extent in which sometimes we have to go to, or, how quickly we have to go from this to that. I mean, we we go onto sets, but we also have lives that we're living. And
Hmm.
sometimes something we talk about constantly in our acting classes and, the studio that I'm at is, I'm about to do this love scene, but I just had this whole day of all this crap happen. And now I have to show up and like be madly in love with this person and like how do I get myself there? And those are questions that people ask themselves. And sure, there are people that are able to like tap into it and like really be like, I'm going to show up and I'm, going to leave that at the door and go right into it. But we're also human and our lives affect us and show up in different ways. And it is hard. It is hard to kind of remind ourselves or to tap into those muscles to be like, okay, I'm going to like let this go and I'm going to like dive into this and be present within a literal snap of a finger. And then I'm going to sit back down in my chair and I'll let it affect me all over again. It's like it's a weird thing. It's not normal. What we do is not normal. Like civilians walk on Earth and like that's normal. What we do as actors is we mimic civilian behavior at a blink of an eye. Like it's not
Yeah.
normal.
Yeah. And we do it the same thing over and over and over again to make sure. Well, let's do another take for safety. It's like it's not like we just do this once. Like I have not something you mentioned, it popped in my I have not yet, and I assume at some point I probably will, maybe, I don't know, had like a love scene.
Mm.
Like I've had the post love scene and that kind of thing, but not the and I'm like doing that like 7 times, like that seems extremely difficult in my head. but I guess so does having a serious like dark conversation, I
Right.
suppose. I guess it's the same, but it's like I don't think people. I had this conversation with my daughter. She does theater at her school, and she also she had a small part in my first movie and a you know decent part in the second movie. She played my niece, and Italian family. Uh, but like, what's more like theater versus film? And I'm like, I get theater takes a lot more pre-work and rehearsal because there's all this little choreography and how you work the stage. But I'm like, but you're performing in front of an audience, and while you have multiple shows, you're not like doing the same scene 7 times in a row, and then okay, let's move on to 30 scenes later in the movie. I'm like, when you're acting, you've got a camera here, you know, like nothing is natural at all. You're looking sometimes directly into lights or just, where is my eye line supposed to be? Because I'm not actually looking at an actor, I'm looking at a cameraman.
Yeah.
And it's like, that is way harder to do, in my humble opinion. Like, one is more maybe physically demanding, the other one is more like mentally, like, okay, I need to forget that I'm looking at this and pretend I'm looking at something else. And then I need to do it again and again and again and again. And then we're going from scene 7 to scene 96. Oh, my character's way different in scene 96 than they are in scene 7. So let me mentally get that. I don't know. I don't. What are your thoughts on that?
I think theater's a gift. Theater is a gift because you get to act with someone always. Um, Even when you're on stage alone doing a monologue, the audience is right there. So in a sense, you're acting with someone always. And it's not just a camera or a piece of tape or, you know, I think sometimes there are actors that ask for their co-actor to sit opposite of camera or to sit, in an eye line because they're like, hey, like I would rather have the person there if they can do that. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes you really can't. They weren't called that day. You're shooting all your close-ups and you're stuck with tape. And you really have to build that relationship in this piece of tape. And you've got lights and booms and, things going on and it's uncomfortable. And I think having a foundation in theater is so helpful as an actor because you have that experience and you know what that feels like and you've done the scene work. And I like something for me is I've learned that I need to live in my physical body a lot more for me to then like tone down. Like I need to find it in my physical body. I tend to like try to shrink things down really quickly because I have had so much camera training that I'm so used to like being formulaic to the camera and technical to the camera that now I'm actually trying to like do the opposite and I'm trying to actually like find more freedom in my body, feel what that feels like, and then taper it and bring it back in for the camera. Um, because yeah, theater, it's a gift. Though you're doing it night after night, and there may be a night that like a line doesn't hit or people fumble and you don't get to redo that moment. The the core of acting and why we do it is because we like being able to perform, with someone and act in this circumstance, and you're doing that in real time in theater. Whereas on camera, you have scenes where you're doing that and it's fun and it's enjoyable and it's great. And then you have these scenes where you're having these really deep moments and it's your close up and it's you and a skeleton crew and, a piece of tape. And you're like, I've got to confess to this tape why I did this murder. And it's got to be really, and it can be really challenging. But I think that's also why actors love it because we love to
Yeah.
find a challenge in what we're doing. It's something different. If we're so used to doing theater and all of a sudden we go to film, we're like, all right, now I have to imagine these circumstances 10 times more than what I was imagining, having my scene partner there in front of me. Because now my scene partner is a piece of tape. And now I have to think about every little thing that they're doing and how they're looking at me. And I've got to do it on this frame. And
Yeah.
so It's it's definitely I think that was initially why I really liked on camera because I was like, ooh, challenge, different. Let's figure this out. Um, but they both have their ups and downs and things that are great and things that can be really challenging. When you do a show and you have the like adrenaline and everything and you're able to like hit your beats and your moments and everything flows, great. When you don't hit a moment in camera, they're like, "All right, cut, let's do it again." They're like, "What do you need? Take your time." You're like, "Oh, great. All right, I need a second. I need to like regroup. Let me like recenter myself and you can get there." So both of them have their perks, but it's definitely and yeah, I think they both have their challenges. I don't know. I love both of them for their own thing. It's just
Yeah, it's. I know I've heard some stand-up comedians who, because I love comedy, uh, and I've done stand-up comedy, and the difference between delivering a killer punchline in a movie where no one generally is going to react to delivering it on stage where you get immediate, reaction. It's like, that feels good.
feels good. Feels good, you know? It's like, ah, I've been
It
I've been
worked.
validated for my work in real time. Like, great, amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, it's definitely, and I think that's why like these things are skills. Like they are actual skills and techniques that we develop and we fine tune, and we find ways to soothe ourselves constantly because no one else is doing that for us, especially on camera.
Yeah. No, and the one thing no one's going to notice this when they watch the movie, but when the last ride is actually available for people to see, because film festivals, who the hell knows when it's going to be available? But I have several phone call scenes, which I, again, I've not had a sex scene. So, to my belief right now, phone call scenes are the most difficult scene to perform because you're never talking. You're maybe an assistant producer is, saying the words that you're reacting to, but you're by yourself. You're talking to this, and it doesn't. Nothing's on it. Well,
Nothing's on it. Yeah.
yeah, you're talking to a black screen, and it's like I gotta still react to, someone flatly reading the lines of the person on the phone. And I'm like, when I watched it, I'm like, I think it's believable when I'm on the phone. And that's all I want. Like, I'm like, it doesn't look obviously like I'm not talking to anyone.
Yeah.
Uh, and yeah, stage actors never have to deal with that. Even,
Well,
I
phone
mean,
call scenes are monologues.
yeah.
Oh, and it's funny, like everything back, like I think it's changed now because now you're actually, but like every audition used to be a monologue. It used to be like do a monologue, and I used to dread it. I was like, oh man, like I gotta do a monologue, and I still have like an arsenal of monologues. I just did a monologue this week, and I put it on tape because and it was actually a monologue I did in college, and I like brought it back because I was like, you know what, I'm gonna tap back into this and see how this goes, and it transformed and it actually was great and it found new places to live and I was like, "Oh, this is where this monologue lives. Like this is great. Now I can use this." But monologues I used to hate because I was like, I'm not talking to anyone. No one's responding to me. Like I have to like imagine these circumstances. I have to find the beats and when I'm like taking a pause or having these microseconds of like, "Oh, like now I'm going to jump in and finish my monologue." And it's weird. It's uncomfortable and yet it's also beautiful. Like we love watching people in monologues and these thoughts because they're, it's like inner dialogue being played out loud. And
Yeah.
phone call scenes are just that, we're like, what's going on the other line? I don't hear, you just hear this person talking on the phone and you're like, and maybe it's dubbed over later and you get the in between stuff, but when you're doing
But
it,
but the actor doesn't.
the actor doesn't. So you're just like, you're trying to think about those things, right? You're like, and that's why I think like, we do so much prep. We're like, we'll write out the stuff in between. Like, what did they say? Why did I say this line? And how do I like react to it in this way? You know, we rehearse and we find those beats. But yeah, it's tough and it's weird.
Yeah, it's harder than people think.
Yeah.
It is the fun thing of almost everyone you meet. You kind of mentioned this earlier. Almost everyone you meet's like, you're in a movie. I've always wanted to be in a movie, and it's like, well, the other thing I've always said is like, then go be in one. It's not hard. Like, because most of them are like, I just like to be a background act. I just like to see myself. It's like, yeah, it's not that hard to do it.
Yeah, now you can just go on, all these extra casting sites and just pop in.
Yeah, yeah. I was a background actor in a Pawn Stars episode. They paid me $150.
Great.
You know, and I was in the episode a lot. So just I'm like, boy, they cut to me way too much. But it's like it's not hard if you want to do it. If casually, if you want to just be a background actor and see yourself on screen, it's really not hard. Just go do it. But I guess that's the difference. I don't know. I actors have some sort of mental illness.
Oh
That
yeah. I mean, that's every like profession, right? Like you got to be a little crazy to be a plastic surgeon or a surgeon at all. Like you're cutting into people. So you can
good
argue that
point.
everyone in their realm is a little crazy. Lawyers, liars, everyone's got
Yeah, they might be born that way.
yeah, everyone's got their thing. Everyone's a little weird in what they do. But yeah, that's what makes it so fun.
Yeah, if you're not weird, I don't trust you. You're
Yeah.
probably a serial killer,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Although they're usually kind of weird.
That's true. But I don't know if that's like
Not the
after the
same kind of weird.
after the fact, like, oh, now we realize how weird this person was. They were
Right.
killing a bunch of prostitutes.
Right. Yeah.
But while they're interacting with people, I bet they're just very straight, normal, straight-laced, like
Yeah.
vanilla people.
Right. Yeah.
That's
Don't
my
have.
hunch. I've never knowingly interacted with the serial killer, but
Yeah.
fly under the radar. I think that's the
Yeah.
I would love. Oh, so I was about to say, where can my audience find you? And we're gonna do that in a second. But I love to do this because now it's kind of a thing with fellow actors. Um, Someone asked me, and I'll answer first, so you have time to think if you have not thought of this.
Okay.
Someone asked what would be your dream role
Oh.
as an actor? And I immediately say the devil is number one. The devil's number one, like no matter which way you say it. And I say the Joker. I would love to play the Joker because I love everyone who's played the Joker, the Batman villain, has been great. But I've never seen one like I'm 6'2", like 260 pounds. Like I'd like to see an physically imposing Joker. Instead, like I would like to see a different twist on it. But both of those things are like I want to play an evil person, and I'm like generally I just am funny. And the third answer I'd give is I want to play Danny McBride's younger brother because I've been compared to him since my first movie I was in. I was a lead in the first movie I was in, and my daughter goes on this website that has movie reviews, and one of the people on there, it's my favorite thing I've ever seen, says this movie has a dollar store Danny McBride, and I'm like, that's me, yes.
That's
I
great.
didn't take it as an insult, although I'm sure it was intended that way. So that being said, what is your do you have a dream role or roles that
You know, it's interesting. Whenever people would ask me that, I would always say like my dream role is the role that's made for me. Like it's the
it's
one
written for you?
written for me.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that like that's like the my goal as an actor is like being able to like get to the point in my career that I no longer have to audition, where my work is known for what it is, and someone turns around and they're like, "We want Annabelle in this. Like, this is what, this is the role we want her to play in." But I think there are a few things that like I would really enjoy playing, and that is, and I haven't dabbled into them because there haven't been like I want them to be really great films. And that would be like a vampire role because I'm pale and I have these big eyes that everyone's like, "Oh, you'd be a really great vampire." And I'm like, "You know what? I would be a pretty good vampire." And that would be pretty fun. Um, I also would love to do I do really like period pieces. And so anything where I can like play the like old Hollywood I murdered my husband type of role would be super fun. Um, Charactery or like an I Love Lucy type of thing, a comedic, like fun, quirky character, I think would be really fun, but like set in that like 1940s, 50s like time era. Um, but and then of course there's like, yeah, I just want to play like the deranged psycho. Like I think everyone's kind of like,
Yeah.
maybe not. Maybe I'm just a little messed up in the head, but there's something there. I'm like, that seems like fun.
Well, obviously I said I'd play the Joker. So yes, I'm right there
Yeah,
in your camp.
there's something about like, yeah, whether it's like, like whether it's like the exorcism type, like messed up, like, paranormal activity type of thing, or like the like Harley Quinn type of, we're crazy and we're killing everyone, you know. Like, there's just something about being this like deranged and like really diving into that character work that's like, oh, that would be really fun, challenging, and exciting. And maybe that's not the right term to use, um, because there are people that actually go through those things. But I don't know. But
Hey,
yes.
5 years from now, you're going to be Harley Quinn. I'm going to be the Joker. I mean,
Hey, there we go.
we're in the same universe.
Uh, but yeah, I think, yeah, I think those things are fun. I mean, sure, would I like to play a superhero of some sort? Yeah, great. Like that would be cool. But it's not a big up there for me. Like there's parts of it where I'm like, yeah, I think that would be fun. Like, sure, have like a Marvel. I think anyone would be like, oh, a Marvel movie for me, like that would be cool.
It's fascinating, though,
But
that
like, I don't know. I feel like the Marvel universe has gotten so big that I'm like, well, I'm like, unless I'm playing Catwoman or like, Wonder Woman or Poison Ivy or like all the like, fun old ones that I used to like love and like look up to. I don't know if I really want to play all these other ones. I don't know.
well, what's weird is we both gravitate towards villains. And
Yeah.
I think that's nor I don't think that's just you, and I think most actors would be like, I'd love to play the villain in this. I would guess more people would want to play the Joker than Batman.
Yeah. And maybe that's just because Batman feels like everyday character, whereas Joker feels more of like a character role, right? Like as we were talking about, one of them feels easier and the other one feels more tropey and archetype type of, deranged, something that we don't get to do every day.
Yeah,
So,
I guess that's it. We're we're all actors are fucked up in the head.
yeah.
If you know an actor in your life, audience, just tell them they're doing a great job because we also all have low self-esteems.
Tell them you love them and they're doing great and you're proud of them.
Yeah. This has been a public service announcement on for the actors who are not at Tom Hanks's level yet. Uh Annabelle, where can people find, follow, not literally, just on social media, where can people find and follow you?
I'm on Instagram at Annabelle Chinch, and it's CHINCH. to help you all out. Uh, you can follow me and find me there. I do have a TikTok. I think it's under the same name. If not, it's under my website name, which is Anabelle Ciano. Um, and yeah, give me a follow, check out my stuff, enjoy the content.
All right. I'm holding my phone up because my new thing is I'm following people on Instagram. And I think this, well, I'm like, I'm doing it while I'm talking to the person, so I don't need to be like,
So you're
oh
like, is
shit,
this you?
how do I find this person? 3 weeks later when I'm
Got
publishing.
it.
There we go. I'm glad it was you, so it worked.
I'm glad no one's imposing as me because, imposters are everywhere.
Uh, I even have one.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
scary, weird.
And I've reported it, and they're like, "Oh, he's not saying he's you," and I'm like, he's literally taking pictures off my social media and posting them and saying, "Had a great time doing this." I'm like, that seems like he's impersonating me.
Is this not identity theft? What are the lines? Everything is blurry now.
Yeah. I guess I should take it as a compliment.
Yeah, you're pretty cool.
I Annabelle, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank
This
you.
has been fun. I can't believe it's been like over like an hour 15.
Oh,
Uh, Sorry for keeping you so long. But
oh, had a great time.
actors love talking about acting. We're such narcissists. And if you
Yeah.
see us on the street, tell us how wonderful we are, please. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks so much.